Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your questions 7 days a week. Alexander Knight's our reader today, and let's dive right in.
First question this morning is coming from Zach Stylesmith in Chautauqua, New York. I'm attempting to connect two instances of vMix over NDI bridge. I can get video with a delay, but audio is intermittent and staticky and skips. Speeds at both sites are at least 300 down, 40 up. What would cause this?
Guy Cochran's going to help us out.
Yeah, it could be a number of things, but I'm going to say that it's probably an underpowered NDI bridge machine. So you could check your task manager and see what's going on with it. So here's a machine that we have that's set up as an NDI bridge. And you can see it's cooking along just 13% GPU. What's important on an NDI bridge is to have a GPU in there. So you need an NVIDIA or an Intel Arc or a Radeon for it to actually effectively crunch. And you could see if you go into your settings that you have the ability to see the quality, and you could go low, medium, high, or ultra. I would try backing it off down to low and see if that helps. You could also choose which GPU that you're using. So I would bet that it's one of those. And if you have that ability to swap that out, then that's what I would do. I would swap back to me. I would swap back. I would get a machine that actually has a decent CPU, GPU, and then here's the other thing. These things help a ton. I just pulled this one off of a production yesterday because they were having issues. And I said, let me bring in a proper switch so that it's a managed switch. It's a Netgear M4250 AV switch. So if you are having NDI problems locally, these switches can really clean things up. They've become almost an industry standard for NDI. So I'd be looking at a couple things: your bridge machine, the machine on the other side to see if it's properly decoding, because basically what you're doing is you're encoding and you're decoding. Ideally, there would be a machine in the middle. So you have a joiner, you have a host, and then you have another joiner. So vMix joiner 1, vMix joiner 2, and then the bridge, and then they connect together like that. So I'll look in the chat to see if you have more, and there's probably some more to this but I'm going to let you in Discord. I'm giving you an option if you want to try our bridge. This actually belongs to the Mimo Live guys. I host a bridge because I have a fast connection here for them to control stuff from Europe here locally and for testing. And so it's running right now. The machine that you just saw is for them, but I'll give you the access, and then you could try this fast machine, connect in, and see if you still get the same skipping.
Office Hour, where you can get your one-way invitation to the Cochran Cloud. Very exciting. Thank you. Next question.
Vic Hernandez in Springfield, Missouri, USA is asking, are there any disadvantages in buying a new base model M4 Mac Mini from Amazon where I can save $60 as opposed to Apple?
Jeffrey.
Yeah, right now Amazon has it for 10% off, and that's a decent savings. But if you wanted to customize that, or if you wanted to try and find any type of educational deals or anything like that, that's where going to the Apple Store would be the better bet. You could also do different configurations. If you want the 10 gig Ethernet rather than the 1 gig Ethernet. Apple Store also has financing options that you can go through. So once again, you'd have to go in. And then trade-in is the other thing. If you're trading in an old Mac Mini for the new Mac Mini, then you'll want to go through the Apple Store because it doesn't do that through Amazon. But if you're not doing those things, Amazon's the way because right now it's 10% off.
Courtney.
Yeah, and if you just, if there's an Apple Store nearby, and rather than you're ordering it mail order from the Apple Store, online store, you can develop a relationship with the people in the store. That's a good thing. But Amazon, being cheaper, has easy returns. It's so easy to return stuff to Amazon. Just go to Whole Foods or a UPS or a Kinko's, I think. And you can just drop stuff off. Yeah, Kohl's. They have deals with a lot of different stores. You can just drop stuff off. You don't even have to repackage it. They give you a QR code. You get your money back the same day. Great for returns. So, take that into consideration. If you're trying to order it mail order, I'd go with Apple. I'd go with Amazon over Apple if you don't have a relationship with the store.
Alexander?
Well, first of all, I'd argue that nobody returns Mac Minis; they just keep buying more. Second of all, Vic, if you want the best possible deal, I would actually look at Apple's certified refurbished program. They kind of bury this because I guess they don't really want to advertise it. But when you go to the Apple Store in your web browser, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's like a little tiny link there to certified refurbished store. And I've actually purchased a couple of M2 Mac Minis, and I think there are some M4 refurbished Mac Minis there. They're just as good as new. They come with full warranty, and I think I saved like $150 or $175, maybe more, off it. And hey, $150 is $150, and if you get it with full warranty and it looks as good as new, why not, right? A lot of times they're just they're just repacks, and they wipe the drive and reset it. So that's usually what I do.
I think the other thing you need to look out on Amazon is make sure that you're budgeting in an extra, say, $40, and opt for the case that makes it look like an old Mac Pro. It looks hilarious on your desk. Everybody that walks into my office where I have this sees it and just thinks it's the funniest thing. And it's just a little bit of style. The other thing that I like about that is because the button on the Mac Mini is on the bottom, by putting it on a 90, it gets it to the side, and they actually have a little pass through for the button right there, so you can click it. But yeah, fun stuff. Next question.
This one's from Paul Vall, who's in Austin, Texas. Comment on Nanlite's tiny new Pico LED light. What features does it have that light you up?
Courtney.
Funny. He made a pun. Well, you can't buy them just yet, so this is what it looks like. You can pre-order them. It's one of those little teeny lights. It's got a little quarter 20 socket on the bottom here, so you can screw it onto a hot shoe or something to put it on top of your camera if you have a DSLR or something. A cold shoe adapter, excuse me, not a hot shoe adapter. It's battery powered, but it only has a 1500 milliamp battery. Has a nice round display. Ooh, how clever. And a little wheel up here, wheel encoder to adjust the brightness or color temperature. It's a little bit smaller than that one that I showed yesterday, which is this one. The Nanlite is supposedly MSRP about $35. This one is $20, currently available from Neewer. It has one more row of LEDs. It's also, a CRI. This is CRI 97. It has a bigger battery, has the same cold shoe mount. And this one has magnets on the side. Doesn't have a round display, but it has an OLED display on the back. And it has magnets on the sides of them, so you can just kind of snap 2 or 3 of them together side by side or top over bottom and lock them together. So this one has a bigger battery, 2,000 milliamp hour battery, as opposed to 1,500. So it should give you, although it does have more LEDs, should give you probably about the same approximate life, 2.5 hours, something like that. So there's a lot of these little interesting lamps coming out. They also have scenes that you can put on them and an app that works with them. The scenes have all these little modes: firelight, candlelight. For a horror film, the bulb that's flickering every now and then, can make you think that the house has been possessed. Those kind of scenes, easily to set up.
Guy.
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing with these type of lights as to how useful they'll be with that small of a fixture. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish and what the ISO is of that camera, if it's going to work well, and how far away your subject is. I can remember back in, I think it was 2008, when light panels first came out. So this is a video that I made way back when, talking about actually, this video was uploaded 18 years ago, it says. So I talk about it being cool to the touch. So this was a $2,000 kit. So just to put it in perspective as to how far we've come. But here you can see that in a situation where you just had a dark face that you needed to light up, this is when those type of portable on-camera lights would come in handy. And then eventually I show that was the $2,000 kit for 2 lights with the batteries. Yeah, there's a young guy 18 years ago. But you could also use it as a hairlight or backlight. Again, little fill, but and then clamp these things and put them where, like you could see it down there in the bottom left, or clamping it onto a door frame. So don't just think about the light. Think about how you could mount the thing to something else to be able to get that light where you want it in a pinch, not just directly on the camera. Sometimes it's not nice to not get the deer in headlights look. You get the look from a 45-degree angle instead. And these things were really magenta. It's funny to look back at the quality of what we're getting now, because you get very high CRI out of these lights. When they first came out, that one had a green tinge, and it came with filters to put magenta filters to correct that green depending on the brightness. So it would change color depending on the brightness. So we've come such a long way. So those are my comments for those portable LED lights.
You can not only ask questions, but also chat about the questions and vote on questions in Makana. That's our back end. So if you're not there, be there. officehours.global/join is how you sign up. Just go to officehours.global/join and sign up there. You'll get an email, and then you can click links on how to get into Makana, Discord, all the fun inside stuff. Next question.
Greg Kadoki in Toronto, Canada is asking, has anyone looked at the accessibility functions on the Apple TV? Tripe click on the remote can trigger a bunch of functions. I've been using reduce white point for late night viewing.
I haven't, but I'm going to. This is exciting. I love when Apple, sometimes it seems like, first of all, commend Apple for their commitment to accessibility. I've always been impressed with the way that they make accommodations to make sure that their products are usable and accessible. But I also like it when they sneak in a feature that someday makes it into the main release of iOS or macOS or tvOS, but they kind of test it through the accessibility functions. So I'm surprised, actually, that I haven't done this, because usually I like to go in and change all the settings and mess with all the buttons. But if you haven't, whether it's on a TV, like Craig's talking about right now, or on a phone or the Mac, or even the watch has some stuff, go in and peruse through those accessibility settings, because there are certain things that you don't think of that end up becoming useful to every single Mac or product you use. And this goes, Windows has things like this too. It's kind of like an extra feature bit. For example, my favorite accessibility feature, especially for things like this where I'm sharing my screen, is using the control key to zoom with a gesture. So if I hold the control key down on my Mac and scroll with two fingers, I get a full screen zoom. And if I'm like trying to show someone a demo of a piece of software, or do a training, or explain how something works, I find that whether it's up on a presentation or if it's over a Zoom screen share or something like that, that fluidity wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't go around and poke in the accessibility settings. So thank you for the reminder, Craig. Next question.
Andre Dole in Berlin's asking, which devices do you usually use to do main and backup recording of a production, and why?
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
I do a lot of different things when it comes to backing up the recording, and it really depends on the hardware that you have. Like, for instance, when I'm at every other Monday, I do some live streaming of bands, and we record it. So it's basically a Blackmagic television studio. And the ability to actually pull the items from the recording while the next band is playing is actually fairly straightforward. You just use an FTP service inside your computer. You FTP into the box, and then you just pull the files down. So they're copying over as the next band is playing. And then, of course, you have to redo that because there's new recordings that are added to that. But when it comes to something like using vMix, what I will do is I will have a different type of recording system. In the studio here, what I do is my vMix will be recording, and I'll do all the switches there. But each camera is actually connected up to my ATEM Mini, in where I will then record the individual stems. So if I need to do any type of editing post, then I can pull those stems from there and then get that going. So you could do it through the two different ways, just basically when the recording is done, copying it over for backup, or having a second system that will record via another. You can even do through NDI if you wanted to, but I do it through HDMI cables, so I have the best quality that's going into the ATEM Mini.
Jason.
My primary recording is an ISO recording through HyperDeck. My secondary recording is in the camera, and then I also record directly through the switcher. So that would be, the ISO of everything, but not in 4K.
Courtney?
If you're talking about an audio podcast, I got a couple of choices. I have a vMix Pre 3, which I can put in line and use that, which is nice. But if it's multiple people or multiple microphones and it's a documentary type situation or a round table situation podcast where you don't know who's going to talk when, I want to record ISOs on everybody but then generate a auto mix, left-right stereo version with auto mix. And my F6 does that automatically. It's built in. And it has 6 inputs. It has 32-bit record, so I don't have to worry about somebody, going into crackly mode by overmodulating when they laugh or something. So that's handy to have. And it can record 8 channels, 10 channels, I think. And 2 of them can be the left-right mix channels, and then the 6 ISOs can be recorded at 32-bit float. So that's a handy way to go. And it's about $700. So for backup recording, that's a thing that I like to use.
Guy?
Yeah, it depends on how fast you need to flip it and what quality. I have 9 AJA Key Pros right around the corner here, and that's what I use because I have them all synced with timecode. So I have a timecode generator, and they're all seeing the same exact timecode, and I could gang start them. So when I hit one button, it starts all of them. The trouble is it's older technology, the ones that I have, and so getting the files off can take a while. If it's a fast turnaround type event, I also use this, which is the HyperDeck Studio Pro. And the nice thing about this is it's got a 10 gig Ethernet port on it, so I can leave this SSD inside of here and I can talk to it over the network in 10 gig, and I can get 4K footage off this thing super fast. The other things that you can use is the smaller version of these. We have a rack full of the little HyperDeck minis, and they can also talk to the network, but only over 1 gig, and you can record onto little SD cards instead. So it just depends on your workflow, where you're going, and how fast you need to turn it in, at what bit rate, what quality, because you do have the option of going H.265. So if you need something super efficient for a really long show, I do actually like the ATEM Extreme for a backup because it's so efficient. It is. I can get 8 cameras on that thing. It's compressed, and depending on how visually lossless that your client needs, you could get away with just using the ATEM Mini Extreme with a SSD attached. It works really well. I'm impressed, and you get the benefit of the DaVinci Resolve file. If you're doing ATEM records, there's actually some software for Final Cut, if you're a Final Cut editor, that'll capture all of that XML data too. It's like a $79 plugin. So again, it depends on how fast you need to turn something and at what quality.
The other thing to remember is test whatever your backup strategy is. So actually live it, do an event, have your backup recording, bring that backup recording in after it's over, and see what would your output look like if you had to go to the backup. A lot of us think about the backup and put it on paper really well, but don't always round trip it and live it and see what does that really feel like. So if it's going to be your backup, make sure you're happy with whatever that backup is. Next question.
This question is one of mine. Does anyone recognize these LED panel lights on this video with Danny Boyle discussing 28 years later? And I posted a link to a screenshot there. And by the way, you should watch that video because that is so awesome. And they talk about all the different cameras and iPhones they use for that.
Courtney.
Link to the video?
What about the movie? It's a PNG. Here's the picture that he posted here. I'm thinking maybe not a Nanlite. It's an Aperture, maybe a P300C, because they're a pretty high-end light. No, I see Guy is shaking.
And Courtney, if you zoom in a bit, you can see it's got this like honeycomb diffusion grid attached to it too.
Well, those are available for almost all panel lights, but I didn't zoom in.
Yeah, I would say that those are probably ICANNs. I have a P300 sitting right here. That's why you saw me nodding my head, and I just came off a set where we have P600s everywhere that they look different from the front. That's the blue light behind me is a P300.
Ah, there we go. Next question.
Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. What do you make of this early stage tool to boost your YouTube rankings?
You know, I have not been concerned about boosting my YouTube rankings because I am, not. I'm more worried about the quality of the show than the numbers that we're getting. But here we go. VidTechie from AppSumo. Here's what it looks like. Any of these analytics tools are going to, and I don't have experience directly with this, and Jeffrey can speak a lot to it, but in general, with internet tools that promise they're going to boost your rankings with a secret sauce this or an AI that, a lot of times, whether it's Google or one of the other services, they're chasing ways to keep people from gaming the system because it creates sort of perverse incentives. But Jeffrey's going to fill us in on this one. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Yeah, so basically what's happening in these types of apps, I use TubeBuddy in full disclosure, but you have TubeBuddy, you have vidIQ, VidTechie. So basically what happens is YouTube has the open API, which allows you to do a lot of different things, from pulling all your videos down to and cataloging it, to actually doing keyword searches, to actually doing posting and pasting from there. So VidTechie is no different. It's just got probably a different set of tools than the other ones, and of course they're bringing in AI into the factor, which all of them do anyway. So it's and of course you're paying, was it $59? Is that per month or just per the license? So the whole idea is that they get you into their infrastructure, and then they upscale from there. So if you want to add in this feature, that feature, then you can pay a little bit more for that. But if you want the basic stuff, then you would use this. Does it work? Yes, because you're trying to figure out how to create things like SEO into YouTube. However, there are a lot of YouTube channels that don't even think about that stuff, and they're making, they get 100,000 views per person or per video, and they're just killing it. And some of them are just taking their videos and going to some of these pay websites like VFly, and then getting their free YouTube, or getting, not free, but getting their YouTube status through that way. So they're really just paying to play type thing. So it helps. It can definitely help you understand the whole thing. But there are several different services. I've never tried VidTechie, I will tell you that right now. But it will probably give you something when you're putting out your videos if you want to add things like tags, hashtags, content in there.
This reminds me of probably 10 or 15 years ago, there was a service that would let you buy a lot of Twitter followers for not a lot of money. And I was going to apply for a job at a newspaper in their video department, and I wanted them to think that I was a little more than I was, and so I bought 100,000 Twitter followers for $40, and just as a, if somebody checks, they're gonna see, okay, who is this person, and it never came up until later. I became close friends with my boss at the time. And she said to me, how'd you get all those Twitter followers? Like, what did you do? I was like, oh, I bought them. You're kidding. Be careful. If it looks too good to be true, buyer beware. We've got some live shows in the evening for you to watch, not just in the morning. We've got on Monday nights the extra hours, and then the rundown is on Thursdays. So come over to our YouTube page, check us out for that. We'd love to see you. Next question.
Andre Dole in Berlin. Has anyone already played with Hive by PTZ-Optics? Opinions?
Good guy.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know what Hive is, it's technology that allows you to control cameras from afar. And it's taken a giant leap over the last few months as there was an acquisition by Audinate. So Audinate, the guys who make Dante, acquired a company called Iris. So Iris has been behind the scenes on a companies that says that they're the largest virtual production company in the world, doing 1,000 events a week. This is the technology behind Hive and behind Live Control is the name of the company. So basically what it allows you to do is not just change direction of a PTZ camera. So PTZ stands for pan, tilt, zoom. So you could do that with things even like Zoom. You could zoom the client, the web software that we're using every day. But what you can do with Hive is you can get these higher end cameras, not just the PTZ-Optics cameras that are made by the folks that offer Hive up. It's meant for Bird Dog. It's meant for any of the Canons or Sonys. And a lot of the stuff is in beta and alpha as it's starting to come to be. But we had Paul Richards, who's behind all this, on the Extra Hours show on Monday. So if you're interested in this stuff, take a look at it. I've been using Hive for a while now because I got access to the beta. And so I've been able to manipulate cameras in their studio. So they have a studio that they leave up 24 hours a day, and we can go in there and do demos and test. But one of the things that he announced on the show was that they're having a cloud switcher announced at they announced it on Extra Hours because they told us all about it. But it's cool to think that not only will you have people able to control these cameras, be able to switch these cameras. So that's pretty exciting. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, I'll put a link in the chat to take a look at Hive, and it's less expensive than you would think. And to have remote people, because I just came off a show where I could have used a hand, man. I was overwhelmed with 6 cameras, and it was an awards night, and there were people coming up from the audience, and it was hard to pick them up because there's like 1,000 people out there, and it's dark, and I'm trying to pick up the winners as they run to the stage, and some of them are running literally, and some of them are walking fast, and I'm trying to take a look at this whole crowd. I could have just been like, hey, Mickey in the Philippines, pick me up. You stay in quadrant back left of the ballroom, somebody else. And so then we could have called where the people were, but it could have made for a way better show if I could have offered some of the benefits of Hive. Mainly remote operation of people that didn't have to sit at this hotel that was $400 a night. So those are some of the benefits, because I was there for 5 days. Just hotel alone is expensive.
Courtney?
Does it only work with BTZ cameras, since it's a Hive? Now, the one thing I was going to ask, here's the control interface for it, it looks like. I was going to ask Guy, since he's been working with the beta, it is available as this protocol to hook together several. And you can hook together apparently several different studios. So you can group them by studio. So you could switch between Studio 1 and Studio 4 in a completely different location and control all the PTZ cameras in each studio. Is it cross-platform? That's the big question. Does it run on Windows? And
so
does it run on Mac?
The bridge piece is a PC version right now if you need to do some NDI pulling of the feeds. But if you just need camera control, that's just a browser-based thing. You could send that control to anybody, and you could give them authorization just to run for a few minutes or for a couple days, and then you could yank that when the show's done. And they could even have controllers, so they could have legit joysticks and be able to shade, control RGB values if that's embedded inside of the camera. So the nice thing is that they're putting Hive on the chip inside of the PTZ-Optics camera, so you don't need a computer at all. It just, once it phones home to the internet, wherever that thing's linked to, it can be picked up from anywhere. So in the future, we're going to see a ballroom where you just say, hey, tech, can you put up these 3 cameras in these 3 positions? Maybe you get a nice, LiDAR scan of a room, then say, put it here, here, and here, and then they can just be the only people on site. In a perfect world, you get your audio from your audio mixer, and you got your 3 cameras, and you're rocking and rolling all from a distance. So for people that don't want to go to these venues or faraway places, or have a way of getting some talent to control the thing from afar, I mean, especially on these multi-day events, like I worked 13 hours the other day, and some people are probably like, that's nothing. It's pretty grueling. It wears on you after a couple of days when you're traveling in and lack of sleep and all that. So having fresh people that can just stumble out of their, room next door and pop into their desk and be able to control a camera that's 3,000 miles away is pretty cool.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, first of all, Guy, if you need somebody to do that, just give me a buzz really quick. But absolutely, I was on the Hive beta, the alpha beta. I don't know if it's on beta right now or if it's public, but betas are so weird sometimes. The whole point is that it is in a major release, and so you can download it and you can control one camera to test within your infrastructure. If you start using it outside, like saying, hey guy, can control my camera, that's going to start to cost you on that. And we came out to, per camera was like $2.50 per hour on that as we were going. And of course, PTZ-Optics is always looking for beta testers. So if you want to really try it, you can definitely ping them and say, hey, I'd like to be a beta tester on that. As for the PTZ cameras, yeah, absolutely. You don't need to have a PTZ-Optics camera. PTZ-Optics has PTZ-Optics and HuddleCam. Those are the two companies under their umbrella, and those will have the chips in it. But other cameras will work. They'll work with like the joysticks and everything like that, but they won't have that main function. As for operating, because they did a live event about a month and a half ago, and I was one of the camera operators for that. The one thing you'll see is it is lower latency, but there's still a latency. So the best thing for the remote camera operator is to set it before the shot happens. And if there's movement, you might lose in the track because of even just that little bit of latency. If somebody's running down the aisle, you just can't see that. But it'll also have some AI ability to it, so you can do some fun little pans back and forth and movement from there to let the camera handle it and then take over when it's just getting overwhelmed.
Go ahead, Guy.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you the back end of the interface, just to show you some of the hotkeys. So you have camera controls for focus near, focus far, one push focus. So a lot of the things that we're used to having, presets, quick tilt pan up. So you could set these to whatever you want, or they're already defined hotkeys. So on the essentials, you can see there's like click to center, cine center, zoom out, add preset, focus near, focus far, all these presets. And then you could also add your controller. So if you have a gamepad, you could control it that way. If you have an IP controller with the bridge connected, then you can. So there's two parts to this. One is you can just use it as your own, or you can connect to, like Courtney was saying, with different studios with the bridges, and that's where you need a PC, and you could have these different studios.
Jeffrey?
One last thing, forgot to talk about the specs on this. You got to have either an i7 or a Ryzen 7 processor. You've got to have, 16 gigabytes of RAM, recommended 8 gigabytes minimum. And then, of course, you have to have something like the NVIDIA GTX 1650 card inside of there. So if you've got an older laptop, Hive probably won't work on that if it doesn't meet those requirements.
I feel like there's got to be a Goo Goo Dolls tie-in for the Iris bit. Like, when you're doing production remotely, I just want you to control my cam. Like, it's like a terrible, there's a terrible, like, Christmas party thing. Okay. You can ask questions 24/7 at askofficehours.global. That's askofficehours.global. Nothing to log into, nothing to sign up for. Just put in your name, put in your question. We'll work it in over the next few shows, and we'd love to see you. Next question.
This one's coming from Josh Kaufman in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA. Is ASIO for all a true ASIO driver or just a WDM wrapper? How does it compare in stability and latency to native ASIO drivers from USB audio interfaces? Trying to confirm whether an interface is required for reliable low latency audio in Windows DAW use.
Jason?
Okay, yes, it is not a native ASIO. It is a dirty, dirty hack that works really well, but it is not stable enough to really do what you're asking for. So this is a way, for those who don't know, that's a really great way to get your motherboard, like onboard sound card, to be able to do live plugins. I wouldn't use it for production. I remember playing with it, thinking it was really cool, and then it burning me once and never going back to it.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, I'd be careful. It's I think one guy has written this. It is WDM compliant, and I don't know if they're using the engine of the Windows native ASIO drivers, which are available free in all versions of Windows back to the early versions. 3.2, back in the really early versions. And you need an ASIO driver on Windows to support multi-channel sound. Out of the box, Windows can handle 2-track and I think even up to 7-track type of Dolby surround sound. But depending upon the sound card, you might have to load outboard ASIO drivers, which are available from Microsoft. This guy may just be putting a GUI interface around it. I'm not sure if Jason has looked at it, but 2.16 is just out, and that was released just at the end of June. So they're updating it on a fairly regular basis, and the ASIO drivers that come with Windows probably haven't been changed in a decade.
Next question.
Roz Humphreys from Comox, British Columbia, Canada is asking, I generally can interview in a way that encourages the client to look at the camera. What are some types of teleprompter to assist in this?
Yeah, it's definitely as the TikTok, YouTube style of direct address to the camera has become more commonplace, the looking to the side feels stale. And so a lot of what I know we'll do even with a Zoom call, like for instance, right now I'm looking into a teleprompter not because I'm reading from it, but because I want to be looking at the person with whom I'm speaking. And I think it's pretty powerful if you make it natural for the person to accidentally look at the camera, than if they're trying to force it. Go ahead, Courtney, what do you think?
Well, this has generically been referred to as Interatron, where you put the interviewer's image into a teleprompter and put it in front of the lens of the camera. And you can do this with any standard teleprompter, and a couple of different ways to do that. Usually you need two of them, one for the camera for the interviewer and one for the camera of the interviewee. And so you have a camera behind each piece of glass and then them cross-coupled video-wise together so that each person sees the image of the other person in the lens. And that way the interviewer can look directly into the eyes of the interviewee, and the interviewee can look into the eyes of the interviewer, both on their respective monitors of their teleprompter setup. So to do this properly, you need two teleprompter setups. There is some hardware out there that's fairly cheap that uses a beam splitter and no monitor on it, but it has a beam splitter and another mirror that is sitting beside the camera. So the interviewer has to sit right next to the camera, so his face is in the reflection of the mirror that reflects into the beam splitter. So it's a two-mirror beam splitter. And that way it relays the interviewer's image in front of the lens. But that's kind of problematic because it can limit, the cameraman can't pan and tilt because you're going to run into the head of the interviewer because he's sitting right beside the camera. So it kind of limits your camera operating place, and you have to then get some light onto that interviewer's face for them to see you. Otherwise, if he's in a black hole, it'll be hard to see his or her face reflected in that periscope type of beam splitter with two mirrors. So there's different ways to go, and of course you can shop for teleprompter software anywhere from PC prompter and people prompter and telescript up on the expensive end, or telecue. There's a variety of them ranging in price from a couple of $100 to several $1,000. So pull out your wallet and figure out how much you need to spend.
Next question.
Paul Vahus in Austin, Texas is asking, Accsoon has launched two new color-accurate professional 7-inch monitors, the CineView M7 Pro and the CineView M7. How would they fit into your workflow?
Guy?
Yeah, it depends on what role you're playing. If you're the camera op, having a nice, bright on-camera monitor with the ability to check focus and check exposure, especially if it's a high nit. So the important thing to know about these monitors is if you are in direct sunlight, the cheap monitors just don't do you any justice. I'd be comparing some of these to the small HD line, which probably cost 3 times as much, but typically these are also used by directors or focus pullers, somebody else out in the field that needs to check framing, needs to check focus. Sometimes you could take an HDMI out of them and feed a larger monitor that might be in a video village or something like that. So it depends on the tool. I mean, focus peaking is something that I like to have on a monitor, just so I can see that when I hit that focus, everything becomes red and I can know that I'm definitely in focus. So it just depends on the tool. False color is another one that I'll use to judge exposure, make sure that my skin tones are this pink zoned, and that just helps to make sure that I'm not blown out. So it depends on if you're shooting in log or if you're shooting in 709 as to how valuable these monitors are to you out in the field. And some people might have multiples. It depends just on your workflow, and if you're a one-man crew versus a multi-man or multi-person crew, as to how valuable these will be on set. But you could also rent these. You don't have to buy them. I mean, they're nice tools to have, but some of the stuff, the technology changes so quickly that it's not, and if you're not using them all the time, it's hard to justify the price.
Courtney?
Yeah, remember this is a wireless monitor, so you got to have a transmitter on it, and has a MIMO type 2.4 gigahertz or maybe 5 gigahertz connection to it. So that's pretty pricey, and it does provide you all the things that Guy was talking about. I'm pretty happy with this. Is 1200 nits Viltrox. If I could figure out how to get it open. It has its own lens shade, which of course I can't figure out how to get open. But it's 1200 nits, and this is like $150. It has HDMI only input and output, and it is not wireless. However, you could pair it with any of the wireless transmitters that are out there from a variety of Hollyland and other lower priced wireless transmitters to do something like this. And this takes batteries. It comes with its own built-in battery on the back, which are the in-type Sony batteries that you can put them on there and power them for a long period of time, as well as external power inputs and USB-C on the side.
And 1,000 nits, like Guy said, 1,000 nits is a brightness is really nice for outside. I didn't think about how important a really bright screen was until I switched from using a DJI controller that was a very bright one to using a phone or an older iPad that didn't have the same sort of screen brightness. And instantly I was regretting my decisions of what gear I brought that day. But also to Guy's point, you've got HDMI in and out, 3G SDI in and out, so that you can hook this up into a larger system. And if you're trying to move that video around wirelessly and you think this could be part of your kit, rent one, figure it out. You can hang out without, by the way, you can also hang out with Office Hours on the weekends. We've got coming up tomorrow is in 1 hour of Q&A. That's our every Saturday. And then Sunday is a little different. We talk introspection. So in philosophy, so a little bit more about Office Hours in particular, but also about the industry. Why are we doing what we're doing? What do we like? What do we don't like? It's an Office Hours about Office Hours. And I think it's pretty cool. So join us for that. You got to be in Makana, though, if you want to join us on the weekend. So head over to officehours.global/join and hang out. Next question.
This one's coming from Brody Hefner in New York City, New York. What are some current approaches to adding telestration to Keynote or PowerPoint presentations for both in-person and online?
Jason?
Great question, Brody. Okay, I'm a little biased here. I really do not like PowerPoint. But for PowerPoint, natively, anytime you're running a PowerPoint, you can right-click, then go to Pointer Options, and then just choose Pen or Highlighter, and that will either pen or highlight directly on the screen. In macOS on Keynote, this is just live drawing, and my favorite way to do this is with an iPad or an iPhone, and you can just do it directly on the presentation via Sidecar. Yeah, you could use a Wacom for a sidecar note, and I found an app. Let me see. That's right, Ink2Go, INK, the number 2, and then Go, also has a kind of neat way to do this. But truth be told, there are so many ways to annotate, whether you're doing it live or over Zoom, Teams, Meet, that don't let your annotations step on top of each other. I would say the simpler, the better.
Guy?
Yeah, if you want really, really fine control, in addition to what Jason talked about, Mimo Live actually has an optional add-on called the Painter Layer. And then if you use a very large Wacom, like this monster right here, you could really get into fine detail, and you could adjust the the frame rate of the document to 1080p 60. And when you're drawing, that fluidness of the ink, the virtual ink coming out, is so spectacular. So we use it in the One Button Studio product. That's just Mimo Live Painter layer with this exact Wacom style tablet. It's the Cintiq that also has touch on it. So this is a 24-inch, but you could get smaller ones than this one. But yeah, depending on how much control you want, you could just use an iPad and just use built-in Keynote. But if you want really fine, detailed control, like doing sporting telestration after the fact and coaching type thing, then I would look at Mimo Live.
Jason?
Guy nailed it. If you have all the money, Cintiq is absolutely phenomenal. There's no substitute.
The other thing that I'm a sucker for when it comes to I'm in person, right? I'm walking around a room. I have a screen behind me with the slides on it. With Keynote open, I'll either have an iPhone or an iPad mini in my hand with Keynote running, but in remote mode, so I can see my next slide and my notes. So I'm always one step ahead, and that's keeping it flowing. But there's also an annotate button in the Keynote app on your iPad or your iPhone. And then the current slide fills whatever screen you're using, and you can annotate in a bunch of different colors or use a laser pointer mode. Now, it is not perfect, but it is perfect. It's a little sloppy. It's large, large finger painty style circles. But in the moment, it gets the point across. And I think the fact that it's happening might have had some drops there. I'm sorry. We had some bad thunderstorms here. We'll go to the next question.
This one is coming from Rajan Chandil in Los Angeles. When would I need to add cineback to my camera?
Courtney.
Well, if you have a DSLR and you want to use it for dramatic shooting and change it into kind of like a box camera configuration, does something. Wooden camera and small rig have adapters like this. It's kind of a cheese plate adapter that bolts to the top of your camera, I guess, through the cold shoe and to the bottom, and allows you to. It has a battery distribution system here with the D-taps on the side. So it allows you to put a V-mount battery on the back, I suppose, and it adapts to a variety of different cameras so that you can turn your handheld DSLR type camera into something that you can mount on a tripod or mount on a gimbal and still have tons of connection. You see all these little holes here? Those are all threaded holes and 1/4-20s and some slots for 3/8 as well to mount accessories. So you can mount an external viewfinder, you can mount a transmitter, you can mount a variety of, even lens mounts, lens support mounts if you want to stick a big old zoom lens on there. So it's handy. It works with apparently a variety of different cameras. I'd be careful about, depending upon the camera that you're using, whether or not it blocks access to the battery or not. That's an important consideration. Or it probably has a dummy battery that you can plug into each of these that will connect to this DC distribution unit back here, so you won't have to mess with that battery door once you get this whole mess mounted together. So it looks like an interesting way to turn your DSLR handheld, mirrorless reflex camera into a box type camera. I don't know if you still have access. It does look like it's going to block access to a viewfinder or touchscreen that's behind the camera. So you have to make sure that your camera has the ability to remotely attach a viewfinder module or a monitor with touch on it so you can control those menus without having to necessarily access them from the back.
Next question.
Paul Vahus in Austin, Texas. Any comments on Chris Fenwick as a star of the Netflix silver screen?
Well, I think it's always great to get more Chris Fenwick in your daily media diet. So I'd recommend seeing anything that he's in, but I'd even more recommend anything that he's worked on because he's such a talented editor as well. So I think there's Amy Bradley Missing was the Netflix show that Chris had a little cameo in. And that's where you can check it out. But we always need more Fenwick. We love you on Fridays. Next question.
Paul Vahus in Austin, Texas. Any thoughts on the evolution of Superman movie and TV cinematography?
Yeah, I saw the new Superman movie on Thursday of I'm sorry, on Sunday. I saw it in Dolby Vision and was very pleased. It had a different feel to it than a lot of superhero movies of late, and I thought James Gunn did a great job. He brought over a lot of his production crew and personnel from the Guardians movies to execute on it, and I thought they did a very good job of making it a departure from kind of the grittiness of the earlier DC films, but not a facsimile of what Marvel is doing. But Courtney, what did you think?
Sorry, I got lost in the windows. I couldn't get to my unmute button. I haven't seen it. I was planning on going to see it today, but every time I tried to go see it, hey, all the good seats were sold out. So I may try and hit a matinee of it today. But as far as cinematography, I'm not sure what they used on Superman, whether he tried to do a lot of practical effects or if there was a lot of virtual photography with a LED in a volume with an LED wall. But what I did want to mention is if you're in LA, and you want to see how a new technology for filming of television shows and films with this virtual set, SMPTE meeting this week, actually it'll be next week, Monday at 6 o'clock, is going to be on virtual production past and present, and they're going to be presenting a new type of virtual production using front projection instead of an LED screen, which sounds like it could be quite cheaper than doing your typical LED screen volume for doing virtual production. So that'll be kind of interesting. I think I will try and attend. It's 6 o'clock in Burbank, if you happen to be in the Burbank area on Monday. So I put a link in Discord, in the main office hours chat Discord. So if you want to sign up, it's free to attend. Just register, and maybe I'll see you there.
Jason?
Well, you had me thinking about front production. Okay, yes. I saw Superman last night, and I thought it was pretty great. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the very first line of dialogue from Superman is "golly." That was the first thing that he said. So here's I maintain that Superman is corny. Okay, he stands for all that is good and right, in the world, and as such will always be corny. And the real trick is to get the audience to really cheer for that corniness. And I think that this movie actually really did accomplish it. I'm not going to speak at all to cinematography, but again, I like the movie.
Courtney?
Yeah, one thing I was going to mention when the thing that brought up the idea of the front projection is on the first Superman movie, the Falcon, that was produced, the original one, it used a technology of front projection called Zoptic by Zoran Perisic, invented it, that uses a front projection screen and two zoom lenses. So it uses a projector that projects into a beam splitter that hits a retroreflective screen, and a zoom lens on the projector and a zoom lens on the camera. And the two of them are synchronized so that when you zoom in on one, it zooms in on the other. And that's how they made Man to Fly and the first opticals and the first Superman with Christopher Reeve. That's how they did a lot of the visual effects, was with this front projection technology.
If you find office hours valuable, there are a couple ways you can help. You can like and subscribe to our channel. We also have volunteer opportunities. You can sign up at officehours.global/volunteer, both during the show, live and after. And finally, there's officehours.global/donate, where you can contribute financially to helping keep the show running. Know we'd appreciate that. So you can head over to officehours.global/donate, and we appreciate that support. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in today. We've got, first of all, our producers for asking such great questions. A lot of curveballs that I had to think about a little bit today. But I certainly appreciate the questions, and I can't do it by myself because no one of us is as smart as all of us, and that's why our panel's here. So thank you to our panel for being here today. It's a privilege to spend an hour getting smarter with you. Thanks to the life experience. Finally, thanks to the back-end crew, not only keeping those volunteers, not only keeping us organized, but keeping the show run. You are the bedrock. We appreciate you. Slavic traversal today, 35,000 miles. That's 56,000 kilometers, 275 million bananas for scale. We'll see you in after hours.
Also, what a great Lex Luthor. Like, truly, I think one of the best.
Better than Gene Hackman?
I wanted to punch him the whole time. It was great.
Otis?
Well, you wanted to punch him. That's correct.
That's the point.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right.
Elicited a very strong emotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's gonna be a rewatch. I don't know. It's something about it. Hit a little different.
I want to watch it in my Vision Pro. Like, a movie's good when you like want to watch it in your Vision Pro.
Did Bill Davis, was he successful in viewing it in all formats? The 4D?
Yeah, he was going to do that. He was going to do Dolby IMAX, Screen X,
4D
wraparound.
I don't wish 4D on anybody. I watched Jurassic Park, and like, again, every time there's water, it sprays water in your face. I'm like, wow, this is very sanitary.
Come out with a clean face.
I turned the water off, and it turned it back on again. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm done with this.
Yeah, the only bummer about seeing it opening weekend, which the Dolby screenings, there are so few days, and then it goes